The Bank of England is now telling its clients that guess what? You need to accept it. You officially are more poor than ever. And then another bank on top of it here in America is preparing to go under. And I'm telling you, Friday is going to be the day to watch. And I'm going to explain exactly why. Friday could be the tipping point for our economy. And if all of that wasn't enough, McCarthy comes out, says he's going to start raising the debt ceiling, or at least vote on that with the House today. But Biden said, no, we're not going to negotiate. And I guess the Republicans here are terrorists because no negotiations will happen. And we're just going to keep going down this battle. But who am I kidding? You didn't come here for the news. You came here for the juicy stock market analysis. What did we say yesterday? We said going into 12.95, the major level. I can only say it so many times. My head is about to burst. You need to be watching for your reaction. Now, we did get above that level. We quickly shot back down, got rejected multiple times, and we're back here in the trenches. However, there's been a plot twist. There's something we need to talk about there as well. But before we do that, we need to talk about two things. Consider liking and subscribing. Every single day, I prepare you for what's to come in the market, technicals and fundamentals. Today, we have quite a bit of fundamentals that will be impacting the market, which I believe are having the largest impact on the market right now. Also going into this, if you're interested, there's spots in Discord. This will only be active for a limited amount of time, but take advantage. This is where we're trading all day long. We're also live here on the channel at 10:30 a.m. Central. That's absolutely free. And the newsletter is down below, which is also absolutely free. But if you want to be around a bunch of traders, there's around 800, a little bit over 800 traders in there every single day with the like-minded goal of getting better, learning what to do and how to trade as usual. Now, when we get back in here, we need to talk about a few things, but you know what? Before we jump in, before we dive into that, I'm going to go over some of the things that I did today. First off the bat, what did I do? I started going short on SPY once we got back below 4,100 on ES, which I mentioned here on the channel yesterday, 4,100 on SPY, and then Qs and Nasdaq were under 12.95. I'm going to explain why I did SPY instead. I got in roughly at 11.51. By the end of the day, the position is currently over $3,000, sitting pretty nice. Okay, now, why did we do that? What were we looking for and everything in between? Now, where are we moving and what's happening now? If we look at the day, we look at all the momentum that's happened. The Nasdaq moved a lot better, got a much better reaction back to the upside in comparison than SPY and ES, right? This is Nasdaq going over to ES and looking at SPY, right? What's happening here? Very minimal pushback down. The difference here is this is very similar to what happened at the last bank crisis. Remember back in March. So we had a lot of downside on Qs yesterday, but I flipped going back into SPY because that's where I'm looking at all the opportunity for myself. Because when we look at what's happening here on the chart, let's explain a few things. Back at the last banking crisis, what exactly happened? Remember, NQ and tech continue to move to the upside, while SPY and Dow remain to the downside. Now, the main factors that are going to really hurt the economy, hurt the market on the S&P 500 most of all, is going to be banks. Because when we take a look real quick and we look at the banking sector, it's not going to affect Nasdaq as much. XLF continues on this downside push since essentially the 19th of April, just continuing to climb down and down and down. KRE still showing a lot of weakness, sitting at the bottom of these levels as well, which again, I don't think the big movement will come until, mark my words, until Friday. Because Friday is going to be very big. I'll tell you exactly why. So going back into ES, I decided to play ES and S&P to the downside because it would suffer the most pain. And boy, was I right. You're already well below yesterday's lows. You can actually see if you zoom out, you're well below those and pushing down towards the 200 SMA on the daily, which we also talked about here on the channel. Underneath 4,100, what did we say? We're looking towards the next 200 daily moving average on ES. Now, going back into NQ, giving you a visual, what's happening here? You are not even back to where you were yesterday. Okay, so the thesis has played out. Even though Microsoft reported and beat earnings and then doing everything they're doing, smashed across the board, Google's buying back every share possible, $70 billion worth of shares. You're still down on Nasdaq. What does this tell you? That there's a lot of fear out there and buyers aren't as confident as they were in the value they were getting back in March. In March, you were getting a lot of value, like just giving you some food for thought. We look at NVIDIA, we go back, into March, you were down here around, 240. You pushed up, monster push. You had a really nice push. What about Microsoft, right? Let's just really quick look at some of these names back in mid-March, right? Mid-March, you're down here at 250. You start just flying up to 300 now, right? What about Apple? We just look at all these tech names, right? Mid-March, you're down 150, push up, you have a lot of room up. Now the question is are you getting value here? You're pretty overextended if we look at it. We go and look at something like SOXX, which is the semiconductor ETF, and you can see that you are on quite the ledge. And if you start to break this 400 level, Jay in Discord, my partner in crime, has been and continues to say that this is probably the best opportunity. SOXS, he's basically hedging his entire position in all of his semiconductors on his long-term portfolio with this. But again, you have a lot of opportunity if you start to break 400, back down to 200 SMA, possibly down even deeper. Again, opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. Again, everyone's saying, Tyler, when is Bear Tyler coming back? And I'm telling you, I think Bear Tyler is here to stay, because right now we see a lot of opportunity to the downside and a lot of the fundamentals are lining up for that downside thesis. But I want everyone to know a few things also. Today, we have some big earnings still coming out. Today, not as big as yesterday, but we have Meta, which is Facebook. We have Roku. Those are some bigger ones. Also, tomorrow morning, we have MasterCard. Okay, Caterpillar might be, but that's about it. Caterpillar kind of shit the bed last earnings. But then tomorrow after hours, we have Amazon, Intel, Snap, some bigger ones over there. Okay, so those are bigger. But again, today, Meta. I'm on the fence if they're going to smash, if they're going to beat. I'm just kind of playing it by ear, just kind of watching. But all in all, I'm sitting here pretty patient, have a few runners left on my spies. But overall, I'm not going to start pushing, the envelope. I'm not going to start pushing the agenda here. Okay, just because yesterday, what happened? Like I said, you had to take some profits at the end of the day. Why? Because you don't know what's going to happen with these earnings. You don't know about the buybacks. I will say, I don't think Meta is going to do any buybacks because they already bought back like $40 billion in the last earnings. They've kind of pushed all their cards already all in. Also, Meta's been on an absolute tangent. We go and look at Meta's chart. I'm just saying, you might have some room for downside. Just going to say, under 213, we're already pretty weak. You could come back and retest 197, possibly even coming back down to the 180s. So again, as we look here, I think Meta does have some downside room. And unless they've really focused in on what they're going to be doing with the WhatsApp and the payment transfers, which I kind of don't have a lot of faith in, I think they might miss. But again, not playing their earnings. I'm just waiting to see what happens. If Meta comes all bad, I think tech could take a beating, okay? We're talking a big beating right there. So that's what we're looking at there with tech. Moving in a little bit deeper, let's look at what's happening with the option chain, right? What's happening deep in the flow. Now, IWM, we started seeing some pretty interesting behavior across the board. Tesla, no one's bullish on Tesla, it seems. They're selling some puts deep for next year, but we also have a lot for this June. Okay, so people, I still think Tesla across the board looks terrible. I'm going to go into that stock in a little bit, but bear with me. So SPY, nothing looks good here. You're starting to see more and more come in for the Junes. We talked about what happened with the April chain on SPY and Qs. Those were very bullish in the money contracts, but guess what happened? Looking at May, looking at June, we flipped specifically on Qs. Very, very gloom. Not what you would really like to see on Qs specifically, but SPY definitely not looking as good as it looked before in April. So again, the option chain is even flipping towards that downside thesis in my opinion, right? Going to Qs, you can see here, not ideal. Some calls coming in here, but still not ideal. Going to IWM, and I'm going to tell you about IWM because this is very concerning. That is brutal. I mean, oh my gosh. Don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. It might have some type of STD. Going a little bit deeper into VIX, you're still getting a lot of calls there. But I do want to go over something really quick. Really quick. Okay, I'm going to bring this up. Bear with me. We're going to go quickly into IWM because there was something that I noticed a day ago, and I don't think a lot of people have talked about it. And even I haven't talked about it. IWM, really quick, we're going to bring up the moving average. You're going to just bear with me. I know you're going to get upset. Jay, if you're watching this, he's like, Tyler, I already know what you're going to do. I'm mad. Don't do it. Don't do it. Well, I got to do it for him. Okay. So if we look here at the 200 MA, that's all we're going to look at, the 200 MA and the 50 MA on the daily time frame. I want to show you something that's happened recently. You had your golden cross back here, and you've had your death cross right here on April 20th. Since then, you have already started pushing down from 178 down to lows of 171. IWM has been a great indicator and a great leader in the market and giving us overall direction. Now here, I'm just telling you. I'm not telling you to go short. I'm not telling you anything like that. But we're starting to see weakness immediately in IWM. If IWM loses 170, I think we're on track to test 52-week lows, going back into 162, which isn't that far off. And looking at IWM, it had the worst move up from March. If you look really what's happened from that bank crisis pushing down and then bouncing, It's had the worst reaction in comparison to Dow, ES, and Nasdaq. You need to understand that. So IWM, been a great leader, but I don't think you're done yet. IWM looks pretty bad. Maybe the best leading indicator going forward. So again, what are we looking at here on NQ? What are we looking at for SPY? Now, let's run down really quick. Okay, bear with me. We're going to get through this quick. As long as you remain below 12.95, I'm a bear. 2 levels of watch, 12.95, 12.910, but you're still pushing down. NQ, I'm going to tell you this though on repeat. You desperately need bad earnings though. If you get bad earnings, you start to see more momentum and volatility to the downside. If that does not happen, SPY and Dow will probably lead the downside thesis based on what's happening with banks as well. So you need to understand that, okay? Giving you a few levels to be watching for really quick. You need to be watching what's happening at 12.6. That's going to be a big level going into as well of the level of 12.5. But ultimately, the target's back towards that 200 MA. But again, I think we have a lot of distance to travel there. I still like the downside opportunity here. Going into ES, which is a lot more predictable in my opinion right now. Looking at ES, beautiful. I mean, it looks absolutely magnificent, okay? As you can see, you're coming down into these levels. You can see where we tested multiple times here, and you can also see where we tested here, and then you can see right now we're pushing up, trapped above, and pushed right back down. We have over about 100 points to the downside, give or take, to the 200 SMA. And I'm telling you right now, the simple moving average is going to be beautiful. It's going to move buenos and nachos gazpachos. This is exactly what we want to see. This is the movement we want, okay? We're finally getting it, okay? Looking at Dow, giving you a little bit of a visual. 200 SMA, not too far away either. Again, Dow, about 700 points, but still looks good. Dow's definitely bleeding out here as well in comparison to some of the others. Okay, so what are we looking for here? Specific sectors, banking and semiconductors. If semiconductors and banks drop together, that generally, statistically speaking, is the most volatile you will get in the market because those are the two leading sectors in the markets, specifically the S&P 500. So that's what we're looking for. If banks can start dropping and we can also get semiconductors to start dropping, pain. That's what you need to be watching for. Last thing I'm going to mention too, going into VIX, when we look here, again, we talked about the wedge that was established. You're still trending up. You're still pushing up. The range that you really want to see though, I continue to talk about it for the past, year, over a year, right? You're looking to get back into 24. 24 is the range where volatility really steps in. That's where sellers really get the bulk of their strength. That's when you really get the juice going, if you will. Call me Junior Seau because I'm absolutely going to rip someone's head off if we get back to $24. Real ones know Junior Seau. But that's what we're looking for. You want to see that continuation, getting to 24. You look good for a reversal, VXX, VIX, very good where you're at, okay? But what you're looking for right now is going to be Meta. Meta's earnings very big, and I'm trying to see if I can pull them up right now. But before we do that, we're going to jump really quickly into a few stocks I'm liking. Hopefully we can go over that by the end of the video. So what we can see here, Tesla. I've been saying this. I post this on Twitter. I don't know how many more times I can post this type of stuff on Twitter. I recommend you follow. The link is somewhere down below. But you can also see, you just scroll through, look at all the media. That's where I recommend to see all the pictures. I tweeted this yesterday. Tesla continued to make lower highs, lower lows. Gap fill still in play. Guess what happened today? You kind of got exactly what you wanted. You're pushing down, you're getting below, you're closing where this gap started. As you can see back here, you can see right over here, going all the way back to January 25th, you're still inching closer. You're still getting pain. You're still slipping. This is what you wanted, okay? So we're ending the day down here, actually rejecting on the 2 hour there as well, pushing down. 147, 146, very likely. Tesla continues to bleed, be a very weak name in the market. Now, I will say you're getting some little pumps to the upside intraday, but again, if you're sticking to your guns, a lot of opportunity here, a lot of movement that's really cooking up and pressuring for the downside opportunity to get that gap fill. Exactly what we're looking for. Another name, Apple. Okay, what happened with Apple? Very interesting movement. We go to something like the daily, giving you perspective here as we look. You came to the top of this trend line. So you need to understand a few things. Not the area necessarily go along. If you can break above and hold, opportunity. But until that happens, you gotta kind of sit on your hands. If we look at where we're at here on Apple, you have earnings next week. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've been a big bear on Apple's earnings overall. Apple, you probably room down to 159, 160 if the sell side continues, but I'm not really looking to trade it personally. But what I will say, giving you a visual of something that I really like here, going into like the daily 200 SMA. You are also, as you can see down here near 150, 151. So again, you have a lot of opportunity here. And another thing that I have been looking at is the kind of higher low trend you've been making. You can vaguely see where you've been going here, right? You draw it a little bit extended, but you're kind of breaking that trend, right? You're breaking out of that channel towards the downside. Absolutely something that you would love to see here, right? These are things you're looking for, your Apple. But be careful with Apple. I'm going to tell you right now. Be very careful. If I'm targeting anything on the short, 159.5 roughly, that's it. I'm not getting too crazy here. Next up, Microsoft. Remember we told you about Microsoft. I said if it beats, you're going to 300. We hit 300 almost to the tick today. Congratulations. Looks good. But I'm not going long under 300. You're just crazy. If we get mounted above 300, you look really good. But until then, I'm not touching this with the 10-foot pole. I'm not interested whatsoever. And the last thing I'm going to mention is going to be semiconductors, specifically NVIDIA. And I couldn't tell you how many times I get questions on NVIDIA. If you're looking to short, the opportunities when you get below 264, roughly, if you can hold below 264 on like a 1 hour, 2 hour time frame, the opportunity is there. Possible distribution that you've been getting at this level. If distribution plays off, your typical Wyckoff scenario, right? Don't love mentioning this, don't love talking about this, but if the opportunity is there, I'm telling you right now, this thing has downside clearly to 240, give or take. You're going to get really illiquid in this range, so be prepared. NVIDIA, AVGO, AMD, these are all names you need to be watching. Intel does report tomorrow, so be on the lookout, but I don't think Intel is going to have as big of an impact on these names as some of the others. Meta's earnings have not come out yet. Sorry, I'll have them on Twitter, so make sure you follow. Have a good one, traders.